All right, welcome to We Are Something Else, episode 129, last call. And we're here. Oh, look, government officials here as well. So fellas, what's going on?
I've been chilling.
Chilling.
Just been
Okay.
working all weekend.
Okay. ECB.
Um, it's been a good week so far, I guess.
Okay.
Glad that tomorrow is Friday. And yeah, I got
Yeah.
some big things coming up. So
Exactly. Okay. That's right. Because you're getting ready to about to get on the plane and then be out of town for a week, 2 weeks.
a week. But it should be a fun time going to Sedona for the first time.
Okay.
Gonna do a bunch of outdoorsy shit and then going to Vegas and
Nice. All in the span of a week?
all in the span of a week. So
Nice. Okay.
yeah, should be good.
E, you might have to take a drive to Vegas since CB will be close.
I mean, ain't nothing but 3 hours the way I get down. You dig? Nah, man. Listen, I know all jokes aside, this week, work week, trash. You can go ahead and just forget this. Like, on to the next week. There's 2 drops that are a must, as in tomorrow and Saturday, that need to happen. If not, I might fall off for a week. You might not hear from me. Mike, you might have to send somebody to come and check on me, because if I don't get one of the
You
two,
don't have those already?
Which ones do you want more?
I do have the playoffs. The problem is they became I warmed too much for my liking, because I really thought that they would probably never drop those again, because a lot of people really didn't like the playoffs more than the originals, right? So the OGs were kind
I
of
wanted the taxis. I've always wanted the taxis.
Right, and I had the taxis, and then also the royalty that came out, but they were still the initial colorway of more white than black. These playoffs, like I said, they got more heart, because it was my first AAU game that I dropped 25 on a specific player that we won't name that did go to the NBA. So I'm just saying,
Nice. Yeah, I should have pulled those out, but I figured since we'll be talking about, I'd probably try to stay with the theme. But look, yeah, the week has been pretty decent. We're here already on Thursday. A couple big things have happened. I really hadn't prepared any graphics to talk about it, but let's give CB one thing. So his Commanders, the Commanders, grabbed a quarterback yesterday. Maybe not the one that everybody was hoping that they grabbed, but they did grab one. To me, it feels like a desperation kind of like we got to get something before there's nothing left out there, kind of thing. And they acquired Carson Wentz through trade, which is the other part of it. Is they kind of had to control the narrative to get a quarterback. Because I don't think any free agent, even the big deal that they threw out for Russ, that was denied, and they didn't get Russ. So they had to control the narrative to get a quarterback. But CB, how do you feel about that?
It's not a move that I think excites the fan base at all. Right. Mostly because they just took on this man's entire contract, and they went from having $33 million in cap space to getting hit with a $28 million cap hit from Wentz. And so, they cut Landon Collins today. That freed up like $6 million. But it's like, we didn't need to do that. You know what I mean? Like the way I've been telling people is that, like, at this point, just keep hitting the mystery box. Just keep drafting quarterbacks, because we already know if you're a free agent quarterback, I'm sorry, bro, that means you suck. Like, because if you were nice, your team is retaining you. This isn't like a Aaron Rodgers or a Russell Wilson type situation. This is a dude who he's now moving on to his third team in the last 5 seasons.
Yep.
Like, Why isn't he sticking around if he's like quality like that? And the Colts are a better team than the Commies. So it's like if he didn't necessarily light the world on fire there, what makes you think he's going to step into, a Washington situation and be successful? Like, I think I think I saw that the Washington play Super Bowl odds, they got
It
worse
went down.
after
I saw
after they
that.
acquired him.
I
It's
saw
like, yo,
that.
that is disrespectful. But
Yeah.
it's more so like I don't necessarily hate Carson Wentz as a player, but this entire way of acquiring him and all of that, like they could have just waited for him to be cut because the Colts said they were going to cut him, and then you take the shot there. Otherwise, you just keep hitting the mystery box and just drafting these kids until you hit on one of them.
Right. You knew they were going to grab somebody. You just didn't know who. I mean, Jimmy G was the one that I guess
I don't want any of these retread free agent bums, dude. Like we already know that they're trash. That's
Jimmy
why
G
the
just came
teams
out of
that
a
they're
Super
on.
Bowl.
Yeah, and no one's giving him credit for getting him there.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like if these dudes were good quality quarterbacks,
Mhm.
their teams would be trying to keep them.
Right.
So if they're not, that means these dudes are bums.
Yeah.
So just keep drafting quarterbacks because all those kids have a chance. And you got to hope at some point down the line, you hit on one of them. But
Right.
you don't need to keep picking up Alex Smith and Carson Wentz, like these guys
The
that
same tier quarterbacks.
someone already made the joke. They were like, yo, Washington's really good at making a move that would have looked good 5 years ago. Like, always
and they were
bringing in
saying that
dudes
Wentz
past their
was
prime.
perhaps going to be cut anyway. You could have gotten them for much cheaper than that.
Right. That's like such a big thing is the fact that I'm more upset about the fact that he counts 28 million versus the cap and they only had 33 in space to begin with. So it's like, to me, that's just bad business.
And lastly, a video surfaced this afternoon of Kaepernick throwing. We didn't see who he was throwing to. He could have been throwing to an empty field. But, he's saying he's still out there. He's working out. And he's probably the best that he's ever been in a while. Who knows? I still don't think I don't think we're that far removed from it for him to even get a shot. But you never know. Somebody might be that. Pittsburgh, right?
I would have been happier with Washington making that move.
Right.
Give me Kaepernick instead of
Carson
Wentz. You know what I mean?
Right. All right. So, but here we are. This is why we're here. I hope everybody did their homework because we have decided to dedicate this whole episode to what has been one of the most phenomenal documentaries I've seen in a long time. I've seen a lot of good ones. I think the last one that really stands out is that 5-part docuseries that ESPN did on O.J. Simpson. And how they incorporated what was going on in the culture at the same time, and how it just impacted that whole time of living was crazy. But this right here, it had been hyped up for a long time. We knew it was coming. I think at least a year out, kind of thing. That there was a documentary that had 20-year-old footage that was just going to shed some light on Kanye West, and Netflix was the one who acquired it for $30 million. They got it. They paid Cootie and Chike, the two guys who filmed and produced this whole entire documentary of Kanye West 20 years ago. That just goes to show you how valuable for this footage, how valuable this footage is. That somebody wants $30 million for 7 hours worth of footage. So, let's go around. I know everybody's seen it all 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Okay. So my first question is, what is if you have to think about all 3 episodes, what's one thing that stood out of this whole documentary to you? And if we have repeats, that's fine because I think we might hit on some of those. But what stands out to you from this documentary? You go first, CB.
Um, I think getting to really see the relationship that he had with his mom, and it almost just
Spoiler alert,
reinforces.
quintuple. My bad. Spoiler alert.
I mean, he knew. We've been talking about this show since the thing dropped. So, Um, but I think being able to really see his relationship with his mom, and then obviously kind of a shift once she passed, like to have that documented, it like was incredibly fascinating to me, and to see his mom, who was like his biggest fan and everything like that, and just more um in depth, like a more in depth look at their relationship. Like to me, that was probably the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay. E.
I'm actually going to piggyback off of that, and I'm gonna say the one thing that I noticed that I wish it would have showed or maybe touched on a little more would have been the transition of once his mom passed to then where his dad then came into the picture,
That's a
because
good one.
clearly in episode 3 when he was in the car, he was on the phone with them, like even Cootie was like, yo, you remember, like, I've been cool with your son since, like, and then it was, hey, let's send this footage to my dad. It was almost like, well, when did Kanye kind of then change that period of, now I need to figure out how to get that, kind of that piece into my life, right? Because it wasn't even presented as in, like, once Donda was gone, where he kind of leaned in, or where that, if he decided to go that route, or was it just a automatic, you know what I mean? Because if you remember, also in the music, he had mentioned his pops a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
Towards the end, he started mentioning them a lot more. You know what I mean? So you could see how it kind of introduced where their relationship either got better, or he just realized, I ain't got nobody else. Pops, you the only one. You know what I'm saying? Even though he wasn't there. So I would have liked that to kind of have been either maybe talked about, even if Cootie would have asked him, like, like, when did you, like, kind of reach out to your pops? You know what I'm saying? Because clearly Cootie wasn't around when that happened. So
Right. Right. Government official.
I feel like the part that I noticed the most, or I feel like kind of came full circle, was the process and how he made College Dropout. Because during that time, Rock Nation didn't take him seriously. So College Dropout was kind of like a DIY album where he was going to
Yep.
several studios from all of his peers to get studio time from out of their places. He went to Jamie
Yep.
Foxx's house and recorded Slow Jams.
Yep.
And it kind of comes full circle, as I mentioned before, when I don't know if y'all heard, Jamie Foxx says that story all the time about slow jams and how he didn't take him seriously because he was trying to sing it one way, and then Kanye
Mm-hmm.
was like, nah, don't do that.
Right.
And
Right.
he was like, you know what, this jump about to be trash, but he still did it, and he was like, this jump about to be whack. And then his friend came back, he was like, that song you talk trash about is #1 in the
Mm-hmm.
country.
Yep.
And
Yep.
then I rock with stories like that. I felt like it kind of came full circle. That was probably my favorite part about the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of what you guys spoke on just now, we're going to repeat again because those are like some key moments that stand out from the documentary. To me, I think that I'm a studio buff, so I think CB knows where I'm getting ready to go with this. Um, First of all, the whole Through the Wire video, obviously, by watching this, you get to see the bits and clips of pieces of Through the Wire from the actual live footage. Like, this is where that's from. That's where this is from. This okay. But I think what stood out to me actually is the part of the Through the Wire. Listen, he was in the studio with Pharrell, and he at this point, Kanye is still known for making beats. Everybody wants a beat from Kanye, one of the dopest producers out there, hottest producers, and Pharrell at this point, Pharrell is well into Neptunes and NERD, And I think at this point, Pharrell was probably already working on the Justin Timberlake album, right? And so he plays Through the Wire for Pharrell in the studio, and like Pharrell is bopping and grooving, like, and he doesn't get the key part of Through the Wire till the very end, till he gets to the hook. He's like, wait a minute, he rapped this song with his mouth wired shut, and it's just like, just to see that moment of just, you knew how pure it was, and for Pharrell to be on that level, and for someone, Kanye wasn't even nowhere near that level yet, for that to impress Pharrell, and you see from there, like, that was just that solidified that song at least. So I think that stood out to me, like, just to see that session and how how that turned out. So let's speak on that. You brought up government official. You brought up how he had to DIY this album himself. I thought that was interesting too, because you can see how hungry Kanye was throughout the documentary. Like, even going to Rockefeller's office and just playing this tape for just random workers around the office, and they're just kind of like talking over top, not really paying him any attention. But you can see that the driver, he just wanted somebody to pay attention to him. I'll let you guys speak on that and how you feel, you felt about seeing that, and or like what you took away from those scenes. Go ahead, E.
No, I mean, so all right, I'll date myself. Right, here we go with that shit again. But let's take it back to around that time, as far as most of that. So that era was, if you weren't at that time, if you weren't Jay-Nas on the East Coast, right? If you weren't Dre and Snoop on the West Coast, if you wasn't like Little John or whoever, probably mid, like kind of South, most of those rappers did the same thing, right? If you go back and we pay attention to what they wrote, this is when they had Double XL, like the whole nine, the Source. All of them were saying like, yo, I had a demo, or my single was actually on, you know what I'm saying, on the table, on the desk, and they had this shit for months before somebody finally listened to it. And it was like, who is this again? And they'd be like, yeah, he's on the label. Remember, like, the guy who signed him, like,
all the time.
So it happened all the time. So I think kind of what government official was saying, right, with that whole full circle of DIY, and how he just pieced it together, right? And what we're talking about in this instance is, it separates the artists that are just like, I can't get it done because the label's not allowing me, to figuring out how to get it done by any means, right? So, because everybody knows, let's be honest, your first album is only as good as you're going to get going forward, right?
Yep.
Think about that. Your first album don't hit, it's hard as hell for you to then even get put on the track, as far as people really wanting to hear that second one. So outside of your first single, which we all know back then had to be a radio, type thing, because the radio was still popping. If you had a radio hit, that was automatically going to catapult you to then what you come with next. But it was also, back then, was features, right? The features of what you were getting on your first single kind of let you know who you were running with, or what your label at least did. But as what we saw with Kanye, he was like, I think it just shows his hunger for it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think anybody doubts that most people had that same push of, they had to believe in themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, they bet on themselves. They put all the money into it. So, it was good to see it from the aspect, but I think we've heard the story. It was just different to actually see it, even though we know who he is. But I think every artist at some point in time went through the same shit, knowing, like, which I hope they do a Luda one documentary, because he was a whole ass DJ.
Yep.
You think about that, a whole DJ spinning records of other people, and then you gonna go tell somebody you rap as well. They're gonna be like, bro, just spin the record.
Been there, done that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Been there, done that. Okay. You? Government official?
Oh, shoot. Wait, what was the question? My fault.
No, just how did you feel about that? the whole DIY and just like nobody taking him
Oh
serious.
yeah, I was the one that brought it up. My fault.
Yeah.
Man, I feel it's actually like incredibly inspiring. I'm not gonna lie, especially for me. When like for me, I do sound engineering and I also produce like kind of stuff like that. Just kind of keep you moving forward and all that type of stuff. I rock with that. And I remember that one part where he was in the car, he was getting real frustrated. And also when I can't remember his name, and I know it wasn't Benny Siegel, but I know he was there. I know Siegel was there when he said it, but he was like, "You the best producer rapper out there." And he was like, "Nah, man, I'm just a rapper."
Right, exactly. No one took it.
Nobody
Producer
took him
first.
seriously.
Nobody
You
took him
producer
serious.
first, and then back to when he played through the wire for the Office people. Man, that made me so mad when when he played it for the first girl, and she was just saying there.
She just sat there.
She just sat there. I'm like, he playing All Falls Down for you. You just not going to do nothing?
Nothing. And that was
Lauryn Hill.
That was the original, yeah, with Lauryn
Yeah.
Hill. Like,
and Lauryn Hill on the song. You can hear Lauryn Hill. Lauryn Hill been hip at the time.
Right.
She was hip at the time, and you're not going to get hype. I was like, man, that's crazy.
No love. But that's a lot of people don't know that what happened with the All Falls Down is he sampled the Lauryn Hill Unplugged.
Yeah.
And he built it off of that. And she was like, nope. And so he had to go get Selena Johnson to sing it, who I think to me it became more of a powerful song with Selena's studio vocals than Lauren's kind of choppy unplugged vocals.
Plus, he's from Chicago, so he had to keep it all home set anyway.
Yeah, and that's what he did. All right, CB, my bad. Go for it.
Nah, kind of on like that tangent. Thing that was most interesting to me was you had those interviews that they were capturing with some of the other people. So like they're talking to Dame, and he was like, yeah, figured, he's just gonna get a ton of features on there, to try to, build off of that. And if you think about it, he really didn't. Like it was a lot of the people that he was, trying to help put on from Chicago.
Yep.
And he had like, it just wasn't built off of everybody else. It was still a lot of him trying to be like, yo, I'm gonna show everyone that I can rap. And he was really showcasing himself. And that was a surprise to the heads of the label, obviously, who weren't really giving him the time of day at the time. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that, to me, that was like incredibly interesting to see, along with then just all the work that you got to see him putting in. So that was dope.
And I think that, well, first of all, like again, to bet on himself and to get through all, you knew that at least the album was going to be full of dope beats because everybody wanted the beats from Kanye, right? And then he knew he was saving. He even says it in Last Call. I don't know if you've ever heard the song Last Call, but it's a 7-minute good song that he narrates at the end that kind of tells really the documentary. But he said he would save all the good beats for himself, but they wouldn't even open up his marketing budget for him. Like they signed him. I think they did enough just to keep him quiet at the time. He wanted to be signed. But they didn't want the beats. They didn't want to get the guy who did Blueprint for Jay-Z to get away, right? Because he probably had more tricks up his sleeve. All right, so we'll sign you. We'll give you this chain, and then we'll just send you to Cali to work on Petey Crack's album. We'll just keep you busy, hopefully busy enough to where you won't be able to focus on getting this album out. Then the crash happens, right? But I think that he was so determined that he wasn't going to lose regardless, right? And like you said, Dame tried to keep him on ice as much as he could, but you couldn't deny it. And if you listen to Last Call, he just talks about, like, for us to know the hits that was on College Dropout. First of all, going to his mom's house, and his mom is able to rap some of the songs from College Dropout, but then to know like Jesus Walks, like all these major hits that was on this album, and they denied this guy putting his album out.
Which
it's crazy.
I would say this though. One thing, like you know me, I'm gonna take it for all sides, especially me being a big Dame Dash fan, if you will, for his assholedness, right? But here's the thing. I you know, let's address this though, right? So come at this at Dame's perspective of that. Yeah, so you're a producer or like you're, you know, people that's you got your beats, right? You got the number one on your squad. Your focus is everything Jay, because wasn't that around the whole time where he was like, I think I'm gonna be done with rapping now because what's the point? Dame is like, I can't really afford a new guy. I got to figure out how to keep Jay, you know, like motivated to want to rap. You know what I'm saying? To still be in the game. So I think a piece of that also, like if you look at the Rockefeller whole situation,
There was a
right? Because
lot going on in
now,
Rockefeller right then and there.
right, which is crazy because I'm surprised you didn't say it because I thought you were. Was down going back to the whole Rock and Rough Rider, you know, type that whole concert and where they did the whole, you know, kind of documentary of that, of looking at how all of those, like how many people was on Rockefeller was damn near like a whole baseball team.
Mm-hmm.
So him having to weave his way through everybody just to be like, I got to get you a beat and I got to walk past you to go to the next person. Like you said, it wasn't to that moment when he was in the studio with Jay, he just started rhyming, and Jay was like, "Shit, closed mouths don't get fed. Like you wouldn't have got on the track if you didn't come in here."
Yep.
Bottom line.
Yep. I mean, and persistence. Like a lot of people have been deterred early, but this guy just knew he was destined to be kind of where he is now today, right? So let's speak on that a little bit. So this documentary was interesting, and I think I spoke on this a couple of shows ago. How you get 3 parts. It's a 3-part documentary of 20-year footage from 20 years ago, and then it ultimately ends up to about what, a year and a half ago, where it ends, kind of thing, like the most recent footage. Right after he ran for president. I think that was like the most kind of epic thing that he did afterwards. But you see the 20 years ago footage, you know where he's currently at in life, and you're thinking, wow, how do we get from what I'm looking at now to where we're currently living at in present day time? And you know, we're right here in the middle. It's like a parallel. Like you're just looking at this guy's life, knowing where it's going to end up. And then you look at this guy now, and you're like, wow, how did we're a long ways away from where we used to be. And that's how it felt. But that's how you know the story is real. But this guy was determined to be where he is now. So speaking on that, so for him to take a chance on himself, but this documentary is bigger than one person taking a chance on themselves. It's 2 people taking a chance on themselves, because Cootie, who directed this documentary, was an established comedian in Chicago and had his own Channel Zero stuff going on. For him to uproot, quit what he was doing, put everything on hold to start filming Kanye, who wasn't even in New York. He was just a producer behind the scenes in Chicago. For him to stop what he was doing to start filming this guy 20 years ago, if that's not betting on yourself, that is, I mean, they're pretty much the same guy. So let's go for that. Like, what? Let's speak on that. This is Cootie just taking a chance.
I think it really just goes to show, kind of building on what you were talking about before, Kaleo, like Kanye had enough confidence in himself that he was having this documentary and having all this footage taken before, he had got obviously done anything really yet, from a rapping standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
So because at that point he had done half of the blueprint, and he had kind of talked already on how that really like put him on to a lot of more opportunities, right? And that I feel like that is it just shows the perseverance like you were talking about. And for Cootie to all just be like, yeah, I'm just gonna drop everything that I'm doing because I just feel like this guy has it. There are a lot of parallels
Yeah.
there. And to also add another tangent into it, when you were making sports references earlier, Cootie and Chike did one of the 30 for 30 joints that ESPN put on.
Oh wow, I didn't know.
Yeah, and so that's one of those things where they got the credits for Through the Wire and some of those other music videos. They did the one of the versions of Jesus Walks,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so there's obviously more opportunities started to present themselves, and if Cootie didn't decide that he was going to just start following Kanye around and filming everything that he does, who knows what would have happened, So I certainly see some of the parallels there. Um, and it really comes down to the perseverance of both of them.
Yep. Now, did he actually meet Chike in the documentary? Is that footage on there?
Yeah,
He was
I think it was at MTV.
MTV. Yep.
MTV.
Okay. And so it's crazy how you see like their relationship start there too. But okay, whoever was up next.
I was gonna say, so with that, the way that Cootie was even telling his side of it, right? Especially with that, I like the fact that and again, you missed it, but he even said it in there. Like they had showed like the clip of all the stuff that was happening when he wasn't with Ye, right? Like he got that all like the baby stuff, and then this stuff was happening, and then they had him on the carpet for his first doc, because it said, I think it was the Sundance or film festival, and then that was the one where they had the 30 for 30. I watched it again, or at least like that 5 minutes piece of that again, and I realized, you paid attention to it, and I understand what it's not about. He really didn't even highlight the stuff that he was doing even so much during that time frame, right? So it was in this pocket of, I wasn't around Ye. He was clearly still working. He still has a name in the industry where he has stuff that's on his resume that you be like, damn, I didn't realize that was Cootie, right? And I think that's interesting, right? Because he made sure that he didn't turn the documentary, or he didn't turn it into
the story.
Well, yeah, and he told the story of, but how it should have been told, which was the fast forward of how it feels, though, right? Like almost, if you use that as a base, right? If you and I really didn't have this podcast, and we fast forward to the next time we seen each other, all the stuff that would have happened in that time frame, but as soon as we link up, we still got the old history that it's almost like you jump right back into the tape, and you don't really, it didn't really fast forward, right? It just picks up where it left off. And I think that's what he did a great job at, is it never seems like it's really that much time, even though there's a whole, like a hell of a span of time where he's like, I didn't even see him until such and such. But then as soon as he starts filming the camera, you would think that he was just like, that was just last week, I didn't see him. And now it's cutting into that next day. So I thought he did an awesome job with that part.
Yeah, the storytelling was amazing. It presented you with the plot that gave you like the beef or the problem in the middle, and then they kind of started giving you like some solution, and that the story is still open ended. Government official.
I'm a piggyback on that. I feel like what Cootie did incredibly well was the pacing and all that good stuff, especially when it would be on Kanye. There would be a part where he would kind of go to himself and kind of talk about his upbringing, his family, and all that type of stuff. And you kind of see what the documentary really is. It really is being told from the perspective of someone who's been with Kanye pretty much from beginning and up until now. And then some of this kind of another, well, it's not really a highlight, but it's something I also noticed. But you really kind of see like how their destinies kind of intertwine in a way, where when Donda passed, his daughter was born. So it's kind of like part of Kanye's, someone from Kanye's life, whatever comes to an end, there's always new beginnings. And that's pretty much what happened with Cootie. And and stuff like that always be blowing my mind. I was like, dang, man, that's crazy. But that's pretty much how I felt.
And so that's a good segue. But to tie it all together, yes, the time lapse between Cootie and Ye's relationship from the everyday filming for 20 years, then Ye kind of gets on and gets like the big single, and then the drift starts to happen, right? They start to drift apart, and Cootie goes his way, and then the only way he tells you the only reason why he's kind of around at this point is because he's filming for Donda, right? So that Donda takes another major chunk or portion of this documentary because one, you already know the outcome of her story. So like we're watching this through so many lenses because from the Kanye lens to the Chike lens, the Cootie lens, to now the inevitable with Donda, right? So we get to I think it's part three, and the beginning of part three is all about the evolution of Donda, where where she was before, kind of the professor, and you can tell where the money shift began because she dressed a little different back then, looked a little different than now. Here we are in on three, and she's got the foundation, running the foundation, and then she's dressing a little different. She's got a little bit more money in her pocket, whatever. But now, Chica Cootie is filming her, and that's all he's doing to film. But now Kanye's in the background, right? Because he's just there, right? Obviously Donda. To me, you see how grounded she kept Kanye. No matter how much money he was getting, or attention he was getting, or the singles or the music, she kept him grounded. That was the one person I think that had. I think I made that reference before. She was his Gus D'Amato, but what he was the Tyson. He kind of just kept him at bay and kind of kept him under control. But then when passing to him, just so Donda, the portion comes up where Donda passes, right, and then you see the complete shift in Kanye, like the downward spiral, as far as they were saying, he just went balls to the wall and just no rest and just buried himself in the music. So let's talk about just the Donda portion. You knew the inevitable was getting ready to happen. And, how did you feel about the times that you saw her on camera and knowing what was getting ready to come? Like, just tell me, your thought process as you dissected the footage with Donda all the way to the last time we saw her on camera.
As I had stated when you were asking for the initial highlight that stood out, I thought this was one of the most interesting aspects of the entire documentary. Just getting to see more of the behind the scenes of Donda West and Kanye's relationship. Because you can obviously see the impact that a mother can have on their son, like that. Those are I've always said that I think that there's something unique between a mother son relationship and a father daughter relationship. And I think they talk about how important Donda was to Kanye, and to actually get to see a lot of that, them going to her spot in Chicago, and
The
just
middle of the night.
and you could see, like, this is humble stuff, you know what I mean? Like, and you 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 get to see just that positive outlook and energy that she brought to Kanye's life, it then made sense that he made her his manager.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
She was his number one fan.
Right. And you got to see that. And I thought that getting to see that footage, from, you know, them rapping in the crib together to, um, her showing up to one of his performances, and you
Mm-hmm.
just see that genuine excitement that she had for what he was doing. That to me, that stood out like just so much. um and knowing what was going to ultimately happen, it kind of it made that those portions of the documentary to me resonate that much more, because it's like you already know the way that portion of the story ends, and that sucks. So, but
Yep.
getting to just see how um full she seemed to live her life regardless of circumstance and everything
Mm-hmm.
like that, I thought that was pretty incredible. And to get to see that behind the scenes of yeah, Cootie was shooting for her and the family.
Mhm.
You know, to the point that when at the funeral they asked him to put something together for them, right? Like that relationship that he had with Donda and the extended family adds that much of a added layer to his and Kanye's relationship, you know,
Yep.
because it goes even deeper than just him and Kanye himself. Like he probably spent nearly as much time with Donda,
Yep.
if you think about it, like
Mhm.
if he was doing all that stuff for the family all the time.
Yep. E, government official.
I can go. So when I started watching it, there was a point because I was just in the moment, just enjoying it. Up until starting with the first episode, I was really in it. I wasn't even thinking about the fact. I kind of forgot that she had passed for a moment when I was watching it.
Mhm.
Because you in there, you plays, you seeing all this greatness happening with him being in the studio for real, him playing All Falls Down in the for the Office people and all that stuff. Then comes second episode, you start seeing more of his mother, more of Donda, like more and more. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, dang, she passed. And then once you get to that moment, I ain't gonna lie to you, I got real depressed. I was like, dang, bro, this kind of is like real sad.
Yeah.
And then when and this is kind of to the part where even though there are parts where Cootie didn't get because this is when they started like having that big disconnect. From during that time period where you made like 808s, My Beautiful Dark
Mhm.
Twisted Fantasy, Cruel Summer, Watch the Throne, all that
Mhm.
stuff. Yeezus, throughout all that time period, you start to kind of make the connections for yourself through like all the other interviews he's had and all that type of stuff. And they kind of did it themselves because they kind of showed the interview where he called himself a god on there.
Yep.
And I feel like that was another cool like part of the documentary too. I meant to mention that where us as the audience, we kind of had the power of piecing everything together to a degree.
Mhm. Okay.
Yeah, I think I thought it was interesting that Cootie didn't use a little bit more footage of what he had when he was around the family when she asked him to be around the family. And the reason why is I think like we understand that it was not about her, but almost to kind of understand how she viewed family and how they viewed it would have kind of because let's just I guess here's the we hear the college dropout and we all reference the songs where he's talking about the aunt that everybody know that can't cook, you know what I'm saying, and he's referencing all these people in his life. The crazy part is if you notice they're not referenced much more after probably late registration. It really doesn't say anything much more about his family.
Mhm.
So that's why. So in that aspect of his mom's, like it was like, well, what's the family dynamic? Because clearly his mom's are still tight with the family. She's there. They're over there. And it seemed like they have a tight family because they got all the old videos of the cousins running around, the uncles and the aunts everywhere. It's almost like he, understanding how busy he is, but it's almost like one of those moments where you realize when you then get around your family, that shit'll humble you as well, even though you might have a relative or somebody that was close to you that's no longer there. It's just kind of being in that pocket. You know what I mean? Like your aunt passes and maybe you was like hella closer and you haven't been around a family. As soon as you come back, it's almost like that automatic kind of puts you back into that place of these are the people that have always like wanted me to win, the whole part of that. I really would have I wish they would have probably dropped a little bit more of that. And not even the stuff that the family asked for him to put together for the funeral. I'm talking about the stuff that he was capturing while she was doing her thing and that he was following her around because I felt like there would have been gateways of her talking that would have mentioned Kanye as far as the stuff that she does, and then we would have been able to see the key word here, the parallel of how Kanye works, because I think his work ethic definitely came from his mom being a teacher and understanding there's certain ways of how to go about it. And clearly, I'm pretty sure you probably would have brought it up because then we don't went around the room. But when she hit him with the giant doesn't see himself in the mirror, like, again, the fact of the matter is he stuck, like, it stuck him for a second. Now
That was a bar.
you talking about the genius that he is and understanding he didn't get it at first, right? Then I fast forward, and I think this is the kind of documentary where you have to almost kind of play like 3-card Monty, right? For those gamblers who don't know what that is, you know what I'm saying? And the reason why I say that is, but then fast forward to when he's having that conversation with Rhymefest, and he was like, "You're not a genius yet." And it's not a genius because you say so. It's because when other people say so based upon what they see out of you and how they see what you do, right? Then go back to what his mom's is saying. Like, you can be a giant, but you're not going to see yourself in that light because everybody else is on a different playing field. So I think that, again, I go back to saying I wished Cootie would have dropped a little bit of footage of when Donda was doing her thing separately, because I guarantee you there's probably some stuff in there that would have showed us a little bit of her work that would have been parallel to what Kanye was about, and then also not even parallel, but to see where that motherfucker turned left, and it wasn't the same alignment of what she either taught him or how she would have been in his ear on how to make a move.
Right, and I think the shift between him and Cootie had, like, I think it started kind of right after, like, College Dropout it started taking off, and he was working on the second album, and then when his mom passed, you see, Cootie necessarily wasn't around, but he was always there. And I when I wanted to speak on their relationship, because I think that to see them, kind of come full circle at the end, two grown men with kids, they're back at it, they're filming, back filming together, doing what they do best together. And Cootie being to the point where he felt comfortable of he could keep it real with Ye. I think that's why, it felt good to know that, to at least for Ye, to see Ye keep him around, because one, this is a guy that knew you before you were even big, before you had money. This guy is around for you. He doesn't care about anything else. He got his own money. So, like, I think that's a real, like, those are the kind of people, when you see somebody going through, we had the mental illness portions of it. Well, hell, when he was in that business meeting with those guys on the beach, and he was just starting to talk, I was like, what the hell are we talking about here? I felt freaked out just by watching that footage. Like, what the hell is this? But again, this is why the cameras are rolling. Like, you get to see some of the things that were happening. Like, this guy was probably still going through a crisis. Like, getting help is necessary. We see how he's dealing with his current situation with Kim and Pete Davidson and all that. When this guy's ego is the male ego is tough, but this guy's ego, when it's crushed, like, you can see, like, the kind of spirals he goes down. So, like, he needs to keep those real people around, like, not these yes men. Not your boy that tells you all your beats are banging. Not those people. But what was I going to speak on? Hold on. Okay, let's speak on. I talked about the 30 million, and 20 years ago. Why do you think it took 20 years for this thing to come out?
That's a good question. I wonder if, because I was looking in the credits to see if Kanye had his name in the credits anywhere. And
I was looking for that too.
And if you notice, it doesn't show up. Like, Cootie gives him a lot of credit and stuff throughout the documentary, but it's not like Kanye executively produce
Right.
the joint. It was, Cootie and Chike did. So, like, I wonder if there was any kind of rights situation with the footage or anything like that. Like, I would imagine still that they would, still have a good relationship, and this wouldn't be something that Kanye would look at as like a negative towards him.
And I
But
thought I did hear, I got to go back and watch it, a portion of the documentary where Chike kind of, I think he did speak on Ye not wanting to, maybe I think he did respect Ye's decision all the way until he told him it was time to put it out. I think that's kind of what it was, but I do know Ye said he wanted final approval of what goes out on Netflix. Netflix was like, no. So at that point, Netflix owned the footage.
Mhm.
They're like, yeah, no. But yeah.
Funny that you actually asked the question, because I didn't think about it until what CB said. If your lifelong friend saw you and then about to hit another spiral because he knows that you can't deal with certain portions of failure within what you do, right? This actually came out at the best time to show the light or show Kanye in his authentic self because of the whole Kim situation, like you just said, right? It leads everything up to the point where he says what? You know what I'm saying? It's I think the last portion of it is at the Mercedes
very true.
Superdome, right? So the that being he's still with Kim, family's still there, you know what I'm saying? He shouts him out, you know what I'm saying? Like, my wife and her sisters is over there, all of that. And then it kind of transitions to like where he's now, the whole president thing. All that is starting to shake again. You know what I mean? It's all starting to shake. And then fast forward to, like I said, he's center stage, you know what I'm saying, doing the Donda shit. That's when all the rumblings was happening about his marriage at that point, right? So I feel like it was only right for it to come out right now, because who's to say what's gonna happen and what we're looking at now? The fact that he even, dropped you know, easy with game, and it's a completely different, what I'm saying, yay than what we was getting off of that Donda, or even what
Right.
we thought of.
Or Jesus is King, where he said he wasn't gonna cuss anymore. He wasn't gonna do. I mean, a lot of people backtrack.
So again, like I said, so like I'm viewing this as like, if we're Cootie and we're looking at this as our friend is getting just got hit with another like more personal thing that you realize that they're not going to deal well with, and you're not around them, but you've seen them in that sight of when that shit is going left, they can't really put it together, right?
Yeah.
You got to put this out, because then everybody will understand. He always says people don't understand. They don't understand me. They don't understand me. Well, Cootie dropped it now, so everybody can say if he goes off the reservation because of this Kim shit, which he clearly has since we've seen this, right? Since it's happened, from him doing the, like I said, the song, but even just the shit that he's saying or doing or just walking around, and the whole post. This is in line to what Cootie would have been filming anyway, which we would have seen after the fact. So it's almost like Cootie caught us up to exactly what's happening right now.
I feel like wait, am I on? I mean, yeah. So I feel like the documentary taking 20 years kind of. I feel like the reason why I was kind of like that, I feel like with everything that was going on between both of them, either between Cootie's father passing, who was his pretty much his Donda in a sense for his filmmaking.
Yep.
And Kanye's mother passing, it kind of set them both back in a way where they kind of needed to take time to kind of heal from that, even though Kanye didn't really take time to really heal off of that. I feel like he kind of went even harder in the music.
Kept going.
He just kept going. I feel like with all the inconveniences that were or all the eventful things in a sense that were happening in their life that kind of kept them apart. It kind of kept him occupied. And then Cootie being the guy he was kind of growing. And then for him to come back and kind of be, as you said before, kind of like a real person to come to Kanye and kind of actually talk to him, not as just like this random person that's like,
Mhm.
oh, your stuff is cool, you're doing a great job, but as someone who's actually been with you before you even had the opportunity to be at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, spending $1 million a day for having people in rooms, before you had the opportunity to perform at Coachella, before you could make stadium music for or work with John Bryan or work with Rick Rubin.
Right.
Before all this stuff happened, this dude was with you the whole time. So for all that to happen, I feel like it was necessary for it to be 20 years. I feel like it made sense for why it came out. Why it was 20-year long footage. I
Mhm.
feel like I feel like it was necessary. I feel like the reason pretty much summed up. These guys have lives that kind of intertwined. These are just destinies intertwined. As Cootie said, God works in mysterious ways. And look where it brings us. It brings us here. And here we are. This is great stuff.
All right. So this is my last question before we transition is what, after watching this documentary, what have you learned about Kanye? Has your opinion changed about him? Like what is your thought process of Kanye after watching this? And I'll answer it first. No, I'll let you guys know because I'm perfect. Somebody started.
Oh, no, I think I told you both like probably the very next day after watching, because I didn't watch the first episode on the day that it dropped.
Right.
But I immediately went and started running College Dropout back. Like it was immediate, and it was, it because
It hit the billboard again.
we joke about, oh, and Kanye raps about it like, oh, everyone says they want the old Kanye. We got to see that, and it like, because we still kind of forget, you know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
very easy to be blinded by everything that this dude does nowadays, like the reason why he's in the news and all that kind of stuff nowadays. And you forget that there were some humble beginnings with
Mhm.
the whole story, and there was adversity that he had to overcome, even though it's a little bit different than your traditional hip hop rap rags to riches type story. Like, part of the intrigue is that Kanye did that same thing, just in a little bit of a different way. And so it didn't like change my perception of Kanye or anything like that, but it made me remember that it wasn't always like it is now.
Yep.
And it was awesome to get to see a lot of that again, because for most of us, we were at the age where a lot of the music and everything that was going on pop culture wise was going to have a stamp on you for a long time, just because of where you were in life. um, and so for a lot of us, that stuff was hitting during those prime years. So it's really nostalgic.
Yep.
But it kind of made me remember that, yo, when we joke about who the old Kanye was, this is it, and we got to see that again.
Yep. Okay. Go ahead. E.
Uh, I I I have to agree with CB. I don't see him in a different light. I will say that the only thing that I would say is that I probably give him more, like it's almost one of those things where um just take it for instance, right? I used to think, you know, MJ could do no wrong because he was the guy that I looked at for everything, right? He's the best player. Like he had the shoot. Like you, if they be like, yo, he had a gambling problem, I'm like, man, get out of here. This nigga ain't got no gambling problem. You know what I'm saying? Like anything that would come out, it was like an automatic defense of him because you didn't want anything to like kind of be kinks in the armor, kind of is what they say, right? But then as I got older, you realize that that's what makes him more. You actually like the person more because you realize just the subtlety of reality, right? The actual things that are what we go through on a day-to-day basis,
Mhm.
or how our lives are set up. You know what I mean? We might not have a camera in front of us, but you can still kind of parallel yourself to how you hopefully try to progress as a person, right? You find certain things that either you have to deal with, and you also try to find that thing that also kind of propels you to be a better person than what you were before. Um, and we have people along the way that have seen that, and through their eyes, you know what I mean, they can make certain certain comments. They can identify certain things that how we got better, certain times where we was definitely like at our low points, you know what I'm saying. They can call those out, and when they call them out, it is what it is. Like, we kind of laugh about it, we joke about it. I think that, you know, it's weird because I almost feel like I should have watched the documentary first before I watched Drink Champs, because Drink Champs almost pissed me off more than the documentary kind of bringing me back to just on some, you know, again, if he's not on his meds, how 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 do you take his comments, right? Because what we don't talk about is his comment that he made about Big Sean. Because everybody on here, if you know anything about actually lyricism, Big Sean is really, he's that dude. So for him to say that that was his worst thing that he's ever done, and you can't even expel, like, you can't expunge on that, and everybody's looking at you like you have lost your mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a couple other rappers that we probably never heard of that you was probably signed to good music, and we probably like they was probably trash. But then I think you got to bring it in and understand, you know, then he turns around, Big Sean has his, and now all of a sudden they seen together because he probably squashed it. But again, we don't see that. These are just like being human. You know what I'm saying? You get into it with some of your people, regardless of whatever emotional state that you're in. We either give people a pass, or we just automatically just, you know what I'm saying, delete them from the equation. And I think that's the only thing that I would say that I got more of out of Kanye, is really seeing how he's just being really personable to say, like, I meant it at the time because that's how I was feeling, but not to say that he's grown to the effect where he can almost own up to his actions and actually try to mend it. Whereas before, I felt like he was too high on that. He put himself too high on a pedestal, or he was in that giant mindset and didn't allow him to look down and say, these are the people that I can't see, were the people that got me to the giant status that I had, because I can have the self-confidence, but I also had people that got me into this space as well. So I kind of see that he's just, an actual human being growing. And regardless of how old he is, we all know people old as shit that still ain't grown mentally. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So it's different to see him in that aspect that he is growing. But it be sometimes where you be like, he gonna set us back a couple of years with the shit that comes out of his mouth, though, for real. So
Government official.
I feel like some of the things I kind of got out of it in terms of Ye was kind of one of them being kind of going back on that destiny type of thing, where he really truly believes in himself. And for going back to Pharrell, kind of telling them, even when you think that you're great, always doubt yourself.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the fact that he heard that from Pharrell, mind you, Pharrell never met this dude before. He didn't know his mom kind of nurtured him into believing in himself. That kind of meant that probably meant even more for him. So to kind of see where he went from there to 20 years up until now, you see a lot of perfections and imperfections in him. One of them being, I wish he kept around his original crew. I don't. For me, I'm always a person where if you come up with the people, you kind of bring people with you, and I feel like he didn't do that a lot, I wasn't rocking with that. I feel like that was
Right.
probably one of my bigger criticisms. I'm always a fan of kind of bringing, like, if you're gonna get put on, you might as well put on some people with you. And I feel like that was a perfect opportunity to bring in people like like Rhyme Fest, especially Boost Rhyme Fest, Boost 88 Keys. Mind you, 88 Keys is respected, but I feel like he had the opportunity to boost 88 Keys. Cootie, he could have boosted Cootie and Chike for sure, even though they already had like Through the Wire and Jesus Walks. And it kind of goes back to that moment where Cootie was like, "Man, you want Hype Williams to do your video, but I'm telling you, you're not gonna like it. Then you're gonna come back right back to me, and you're gonna ask me to do it." And then it ended up happening. And I feel like right then and there, that should have been it for him, and be like, you know what? I'm just gonna stick with the people that I know work best for me, and we're just gonna keep growing together. But he didn't do that, and it brought us to this point where they had disconnects. And then you have these gaps in times where they're not together.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, not to cut you off, but let's work off of what he just said though, right? The fact that he said that. Remember, we watched it. He was like, "Oh no, I got to get Hype Williams to do this one, right?" And based upon what government official is saying is, if you would have rocked with the same people who did your first shit that got you where you was at, you also seen that in their progress and their growth of where y'all all started from. Could you imagine if Cootie really did have the first initial video for that, and what it would have been something greater that where Kanye was like, damn, as I'm getting better, the cats that are still with me are getting, because there's no way you can't say like, damn, Cootie got better through this filming throughout the whole process. They got better throughout the process. So kind of like what government officials saying, like, how is it that he didn't see that? He went to, I'm going with somebody else who I think, not who I know, but who I think, because I've seen him do for others, but that don't mean that who you got with you can't do. And they've already said they've done it for you. They've shown you that everything. I've been in your creative process. I know exactly where you're gonna go with this. And like you said, you keep the ones that, and those are the ones that stick around, because again, we also know there's some that's gonna fall off in that whole process. But the ones that are still down are the ones that are maturing with you, not only just mental, physical, like spiritual. It comes with the territory of, if I see my boy getting better, I gotta stay in that line where he can see that as well, because that's how we're gonna be able to create and keep going from there. So it is interesting that you said that one, because I really was like wanting Cootie to kind of expand on that a little bit more, because he did say, all right, you're not gonna like that shit, and you're gonna come right back asking me to do the shit. And there's a parallel.
Yeah, and you kind of see that in his later behavior too, because there's actually an unreleased clip of the documentary where he's working in the studio with Tiana Taylor, and I think this was during the time they did KTSE. And you kind of see it like, dang, they working together, but now, they ain't working no more. And it's kind of like one of my things. I actually really like KTSE. I'm not sure about y'all. I actually really liked it.
I liked it.
I thought it was dope. I thought it was her best joint out so far. I was hyped. I was like, oh my god.
There was something missing off of it. I didn't think he edited it properly, but it was good. It was probably one of the best ones. That was the 7-track joint, right?
Yeah, 7-track joint. And I was like, man, I could listen to Tiana Taylor all day now. This joint dope. And then all of a sudden, man, she having issues with the label. She doesn't feel like she getting promoted enough. Mind you, I actually kind of agree with that. I feel like she wasn't put over. And it kind of goes back. I feel like that behavior was kind of carrying itself, and it kind of brought itself back up, where he's not putting people on that should be. And I wish he did, because Tiana Taylor is phenomenal. And KTSC, for the most, I didn't like the last song, but like for the most part, KTSC was like real solid.
I think, she's one of those people that can carry her own. She's got her fan base. Could have did more, but I think that watching this documentary, I think it definitely did open an eye on Kanye. Like I felt like I was there for the whole journey. I remember the first time I heard Through the Wire, I was like, wow, the song was incredible. It was the way he came with the song was so different than what we had on Rockefeller at that point. Rockefeller, the label at that point, was all about ex-hustlers rapping. Beans, Memph, Jay. I don't know. The Dipset deal quite wasn't done yet, but it was lingering. But he was completely different, and it was like a breath of fresh air. Like the soul sample. I mean, he was the birth of the soul sample, and to hear that was dope. But I think to see a lot of that old footage, it definitely brought up like nostalgic feelings and like how I felt during that time, and then like where he is now. Like wow, like you kind of see the shift in everything from not having money to having money. How money can change you. Not having the right people around you can change you. And or it made me think too, to kind of tie it together. Like this dude potentially is a genius. Outside of creating music, creating that in the documentary, he also told Cootie, he's like, I'm putting on an act. Told Cootie, I'm acting for these people, right? So if you ever pay attention to what Ye does, whether if it's negative press or press, right before album releases or something's coming up, it's still news. Whether if it's good or bad, it's still got people talking about you. And that's how he decided to stay relevant. And I think that I mean a lot of it could be some, there is some mental illness stuff going on there. But again, I think it's for a person to know where they were going to be 20 years ago, 20 years later, to manifest it. That's just, ultimately, it makes me miss the old Kanye. Yeah, so no, is it just see tonight? And CB, we do to kind of keep in the same vein of what we've been talking about. We do have Copper Drop though. What we got for that Copper Drop, CB? No, you're on mute.
There we go. Yeah, there are a bunch of Yeezy releases coming up, and so kind of in the same realm of topic of discussion. Wanted to see if any of you guys are checking for any of the upcoming releases, whether they
Yes.
be the foam runners or they're re-releasing the zebras again. They're bringing back the Oreo 350 V2. So
And the Quantums are re-released too, right? Or is
there's
this
a
the
lot.
official release?
I feel like they are. So
Okay.
But yeah. Are any of these specific models, something that you're looking for, checking for? Are you entering into the raffles? Because I'm always gonna go for the zebras whenever they bring those back. I'm always gonna try to go for those. And I keep missing out on the slides, but I don't know if that means I can go for the Yeezy runners yet, though. You know what I mean?
I'm not a big fan of the foam runner. I heard they're comfortable, but those slides, man, damn it, man, what happened?
Like we took like collectively like 37 L's. Like that's impressive numbers for one group chat. You know what I mean? Like that's really tough. But
for the 4 people,
God dang it. So, are there any of these particular releases that you're really looking forward to? We know that there's kind of a premium retail price when we're talking about just regular sneakers that Yeezys have. Like everything's at least $200, to start off. So they generally are a little bit heavier on the wallet from that standpoint. But Kaleo, are any of these in particular ones that you're looking to copper drop?
Yes. Give me the zebras. The 350s in general. I love all those colorways, the Oreo joints, and then the can't think of the ones right there. That's number 2 down, but those are dope. I'm interested in a foam runner, but I'd rather have the slide. The basketball shoe could be dope. I mean, they're all boost anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, definitely the zebras would have to be. If I had to pick one out of everything, the zebras probably be the go-to.
The V3s are not boost. They're a different,
really,
but still incredibly comfy. They still went with something pretty cozy for those, but I think that was part of the news was, oh, these joints don't actually have boost in them.
wow.
But they're still, it's a Yeezy. It's an Adidas.
Government official.
I rock with the Stone Sage Wave Runners. I want a pair of them Jones. The little foam runner Crocs. I want one of them. I like the Stone Stage ones. I like those and the I like the Bone V2s. I do like the Oreos too. But I don't know. I don't know which one I would pick if you put a gun in my head. I think I'll probably say the Oreos though.
Okay.
Can't go wrong.
I keep it simple. Just the zebras and the Oreos. All the rest of them, I won't be mad about. But yeah, the collective L that happened on Saturday was probably one of the most like saddest fucking days that's been a part of this year so far.
That was Monday. 3. Are you talking about the 3 slides? Or are you talking about the other?
No, but I mean, like, I feel like it transferred over to that because I mean, it was an automatic. Because when
it was like a 12-hour draw.
That part, that's the thing
made
that
it worse.
I will say. That's why I'll say the confirmed app has probably the worst outcome feeling more so than the sneaker app. You know exactly after probably 10, 15 minutes on the sneaker app, you probably know you're not getting that shit.
You already know how the rest of your days gonna go.
I told y'all before, that fucking line that just keeps going. It makes it seem like the faster, like the more it kind of goes all the way over to where it says it's gonna be finished or completed. And you thinking, yes, that means it's my turn. And that shit says no.
Yep. All right. Shoe and tell. So, government official, since you are a guest on the show tonight, you get to pick and choose. Do you want to go first? Do you want to go last?
Shoot. I mean, I can go first.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah.
What'd you bring? What'd you bring for shoe and tell? Let's see the box. Oh, fancy.
Yeah, I know those.
Ooh. Very, very, very nice.
Yeah, Oregon's.
Okay. Dope. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I rock with these Jones.
Those are nice. Okay. Those hit the ground yet? You worn them?
I think I've worn them twice.
Okay.
I think I've only worn them twice.
Gotcha.
I wanted to preserve them because one time I was going to wear them, but then it started raining. As soon as I walked outside, I was like, nope, walk right back inside, and I put them right back.
Better spray them things.
I actually showed these on the what was that, Soul Tales, but I felt like I haven't shown it on the We Are Something Else, just regular pod. But go ahead and bring these to the table again. I still feel like this is probably my biggest cop so far for the year, the short year that we've been in, even though it's already March.
Yep.
So again, I have sprayed these already. I ain't even put my foot in them, but I sprayed them. Probably gonna spray them again, and waiting for that fellas Miami trip to hit so I can be super just official and over the top and have on these when we touch down in Miami. Psych, okay. Hawaii.
Let me see. I'll go. I was torn what to bring tonight, but let's just do this. But while we're here, everybody knows why we're here. Wave runners. we didn't get a lot of the documentary didn't really focus around too much of the fashion aspect of it. I mean, it kind of spoke on a little bit on it, but these right here, they were dope shoe, dope release, very different. This is like the birth of like kind of the dad shoe thing because of the wide front, but then also this you would never know this is an Adidas. The insole might say, but like Adidas is very known for their
It's on the bottom.
the dominant three stripes. You're right, dominant three stripes, and you wouldn't know the three stripes are there unless you had a light or a flash. So, but yeah, those are my shoe. Those two. I see me. Close it out.
So I'm glad that you went first because I had a feeling you were gonna show the Wave Runners off, and I felt that those should be highlighted because they're arguably Kanye's best Adidas.
Yep.
So, but
Yep.
we'll go with a different one.
Can't go wrong with the 350s. Somebody need to spread that word around.
These are the Beluga Reflectives that they released in December. The confirmed apps have been pretty good to me. I like these were a big release. They had a lot of pairs apparently, but you know, I was happy that I got them. And they're 350, so you know that the boost is extra cozy on these. And the Beluga is one of those iconic Yeezy 350 colorways at this point, and so for them to put the reflective spin on it, you know, I'm down with that. And yeah, I haven't had an opportunity to even wear them yet, but you know, they got the dead stock knot still on there. But yeah, I knew if you hadn't brought the Wave Runners up, I would have. These were the other joints that I had in pocket.
Yep, there you go. I'm being petty. No, don't mind me. All right, but look, we appreciate you, government official, for joining us tonight. I know that there's probably a few things that we left out of the documentary, but I'm sure, you know, as we think about it, it'll rear its head somewhere along the way in the We Are Something Else podcast. Wait a minute. Here it comes. Wait a second. Not this comment. This. What up, E? Shout out to E. Shout out to Pop. Shout out to Quintuple. Shout out to Rashad. Anybody else who may have joined and didn't say anything. But yeah, CB, you're out for a week, right?
Yep. You guys are gonna have to bury the burden on your own shoulders.
Fill your seat, huh? You know, leave us up with that. All right, that's cool. And then, we're getting ready to start working on the next episode of Soul Tales. That's in the works. So yeah, we got a few things going on. But look, we appreciate everybody for watching, coming through. But that's really about it. Go listen to College Dropout. Watch the documentary if you haven't watched it yet.
Peace.